Welcome to a new universal perspective. Today, I'd like to talk about what is life? What's the purpose of life? What's the purpose of living and breathing? It's a question I've asked myself for a very long time. I believe that life is, we're here to grow and learn, but yes, and I think that's true, but also we're just here to live. We're just here to breathe air. We're just here to enjoy the human experience. I think that's the main focus of it all. And yes, and we get challenges along the way that make us have to change or do things a little different. And sometimes that's not comfortable, but I believe that is the way to go. That's the way to grow, I should say. Um, Life is challenging, and but here's the thing, it is challenging to an extent, um, because you can make it as simple as you like and just say, you know, I'm just gonna go here. I'm gonna do this job, and I'm gonna come home, and I'm gonna make a family around me, and I'm just gonna chase money for the rest of my life. You can make it that simple and materialistic. That's fine. If you're happy, that's really all that matters. In the end, are you enjoying your life? And all perspectives of it. The true spiritual purpose of life is finding the self, being self aware, growing as a person, getting to know, like, as an example, I worked with a person that was very, just viewed everything like very extreme and noticed all these little patterns and stuff. And it made me realize all the little things I did that were just part of my everyday life, but I never paid attention to why I did them. And thanks to that fella, I started paying attention to every single little thing I did. I think it helped me become more self-aware. And with the whole becoming self-aware, life started becoming very very I started seeing patterns in every single little thing that we do. Um whether it's eating, whether it's, the way you answer your phone, the way you take showers, the way you get dressed, the way you drive. It's all a pattern, and there's other peoples that have that same exact pattern as yours, but you don't know that, so you think you're weird because you do these little things. But in reality, everybody has these little things. They might not be exactly the same, but if you talk to enough people, you will find that the things that you thought were weird about yourself really aren't that weird. It's just that a lot of people don't talk about it. So when you go into that, you can make life simple also in that sense, but you can make it complex and realize that everything is connected in a certain type of way. Like, if like the sun, the trees, the grass, the food, um, our vowel movements, all of that, everything is correlated and it's all connected, and you can't have one without the other. Um, Bad and good, rain and sun, you gotta have those opposite polarities, but they're part of the same exact thing that connects us to what we call Mother Earth. And if you start seeing how everything in your life is connected, you start seeing that life isn't all that complex if you just follow and you respect. If you respect life, if you respect the fact that there's a universal spirit, the fact that life is spiritual and life is beautiful, and there's all these things that we don't even notice, like the sky. Like, one of the first things I always do when I walk outside is I look up at the sky, and I like to see what's going on up there. How full is the moon? If it's a daytime, I like to look at the sun. I like to see how bright it is that day, how hot it feels that day. You know, and it just feels like there are so many things that we just ignore in our everyday life that are beautiful and powerful. You know, the stars are one of the most beautiful things there is, and it makes you realize how everything is connected, from, as they say, as above so below. As you find it up there in the big, you find it in the low. Just like if I heard this analogy a while ago, if you look at um, basically at a rug, right? If you stand really, really close to the rug, you can't see the patterns. You just see chaos. But then when you start moving away from it, you start seeing the patterns in the rug. And you start realizing that that chaos, when you got really close, the chaos that you saw, when you pull away, it becomes a pattern and it becomes it like it's all in order. So what you saw in chaos becomes order from a different perspective. And that's how life is. From one perspective, yes, it is chaos and it is crazy and change hurts. But then at the same time, that's the one pattern of life is change. Everything changes. Everything grows. Everything evolves. So there's nothing that stays put all the time. Everything is part of change. And the faster you're willing to admit that you have no control of your life, but at the same time you do, but you, instead of clinging and trying to change everything, you just go as the old Tao saying is, be like the leaf. And it sounds silly and everything, but just think when, especially in New England, when in the fall you see the leaves falling everywhere, and when the wind hits them, you see the leaf just go wherever the wind goes. And that's how our life is. That's how life is supposed to be. We're supposed to just follow the natural order of our life and not fight and cling how, oh man, things used to be this way. Especially now now we're in 2021, but with 2020 that just passed, we realized that life could change really, really fast. And we could cling and be like, oh, I can't wait for life to be back like it was in 2019. But if you remember when 2019 was done, we were so happy 2019 was done. So life is never going to go back to what 2019 was. We're in 2021. You got to live this moment right here, right now, because that's how you're going to progress. And the less you cling and the more you let go and you just go like the leaf, life becomes easier. When you stop fighting change and fighting everything in your life, you start seeing that like there is just this order that, and if you follow that order, it's simple. Life, you can make it as simple as it is. And then there's the thing of, I mentioned earlier, chasing money. And a lot of people do that. And I see the craziest things. Here, billionaires talking about like, oh, I've made, 20 billion up to, my 40s. I'm going to make 40 billion the next year or the next 2 years. And it's like, okay, so you got all this money. That's great. I mean, I'm happy for you. But at what point do you say, okay, I made all this money. Let me just go enjoy myself. I don't have to work no more. That's what a person that's living life on a different level, on a spiritual level, says. Hey, now I'm just gonna enjoy this life that I was given. Doesn't mean that you don't. If you feel the need to work here and there, that's fine. But for you to grind harder, and you're already a billionaire, it doesn't make sense. It just means that there's a hole that you're trying to fill with something else. And money ain't real, so it's never gonna fill any hole that you have. Any childhood pain, anything that you think that because is making money is going to make you more relevant. Yes, for a little while it will. It'll make you happier. But as time goes, as I said, everything changes. Eventually that money becomes part of your everyday normal. And now what? Now how are you going to figure out how to be happy for real? And like I said, I don't think life was made for us to be slaves and prisoners and work the rest of our lives until, you run down to the ground and now you're supposed to retire at 65 and really enjoy your life, right? Well, guess what? Most people die a few years after they retire. Because why? They work so hard those other 65 years that they don't have much left for those other 40 years that they're supposed to be able, or 20 years that they're supposed to enjoy. So I look at it as like the life that we're living right now needs to change. And I think before you have change, there has to be a lot of uncomfortableness. go on first before nothing's just going to change overnight and be perfect. You got to go through the bumps and bruises of getting to the other side, and that's part of the growth. And yeah, things are hard, and I feel for a lot of people that are going through, especially like a lot of small businesses I see closing down and stuff like that. That hurts. It feels bad for these people who are actually trying to get off the ground and move their dream to a certain place. And now, because of the way the government's handling this, a lot of people are out of work and don't know where the next meal is coming from. And I feel for those people. My heart goes out to you, but in the end, we just gotta, even when you're going through the hard times, you still gotta pay tribute to that infinite spirit that let you be here in this plane to enjoy all the things that you're enjoying. Because I know for a fact that even if you have, I've had moments in my life where things were just like bad, but even in that badness, there was times where a good meal was just like, oh my God, and for that time that you were in a meal, everything seemed to be all right. There's always little things in life that we can enjoy and we could create. But it's funny, one other thing about this life we're living right now in this moment is how many people complained about the quarantine. And not every single one, but I think for the most part, it made us look and see what we created in our homes. And that's why a lot of people are very unhappy, because they realize, they weren't home all that much. They were working constantly. Now when you're home, now you're starting to realize what you created, and that comes right to your face. Your children, your wife, the house you created, all of this. Now you got to really live with it. You can't just run away and go to work. And that's what caused a lot of uncomfortableness and a lot of people drinking and stuff like that into oblivion. It's because of the fact that now all of a sudden they have to face the decisions they have made for their life. And for some people it wasn't good. I mean, for me, quarantining wasn't bad. I mean, it was basically what I've been doing for so many years, so it's just from what perspective you look at life. That's why I call this a new perspective, because a new universal perspective, because that's what you're supposed to do. You got to, as you get older, you're supposed to change your perspective on things. And as you start seeing the perspective change, you start seeing how things that used to bother you, that would ruin your day, now only messes with your moment. That's it. That moment that you dealt with it, that is it. And then you move on. You don't keep thinking about what happened in the past. You can't change that. You can't change what's going to happen in the future. Live in the now. And that's why you will find that life isn't as hard as you always thought if you live in the now. Hopefully, this could bring some clarity to your life. Like always, namaste.